Hey all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kritika Dadich, your reader, and I'm reading Legends of Pensam by Mamang Dai. So today we are doing the second part of The Road. So let's get started. What's there in it? But that was long ago, and since then the building had stood unchanged high up on the open plain above the village. And higher up there were fields of opium poppy aglow with flowers in milky sap. Apart from this, there was little to recommend the villagers. So the villagers had heard Duan mesmerized by images of a road, vehicles, and long rows of electric poles linked by taut black transmission wires. There would be progress. There would be new schools, and their children would learn about the world in the new brightness that would pierce their dim homes like a sharp ray of light. Everyone had applauded and stepped forward to help. Duan had led the way, and now, every day, the hills echoed with the sound of heavy trucks bumping and screeching up the hillside carrying iron and cement. They scrapped the riverbed for sand and blew up rocks that hung over the cut earth, threatening to smash the bulldozers, and workmen blew whistles and ran like ants on the edge of the mountains. New faces appeared among the foliage. They came from far away. Rows of bamboo shacks sprang up along the opened earth, and smoke billowed out in dense plumes as the labor force settled in. A bamboo tube drew the perennial moisture trickling down the surfaces into a source of water, better than any tap in the towns. Big boulders strewn about served as laundry stones, where naked children played in rain or sun, and women bathed and smiled at passing men who stared at the wet clothes and clung to their bodies. A seductive new challenge emanated from these shacks as the road stretched further with the oil and sweat of black fires and coal tar. The women workers distilled the dregs of carbide and mountain rice into a witch's brew that turned the men of the villages into feverish adepts, roaming the nights with a yellow light glinting in the eyes. Every night, Sam lighted the kerosene lamp and hung it on the wooden pole fixed securely over the door. She tried to sleep, but the night was unnaturally still. She wondered if someone was standing near the door waiting to break it. She strained to catch any unusual sound and coughed loudly to deter imagined a silence. Sometimes a gecko cried and she jumped. It's agreeing with me. I should check the law. She stumbled out of bed. What is it? Her husband looked up irritably. I thought I heard a sound. What sound? Someone, something. Did you hear? Someone coughing? No. But listen. Then go and see. Take the torch. Huh? At some times she wished to she were a man. Then she would show him what it was to be a real man. Instead of lazing under the covers, not knowing whether there were robbers or an earthquake, their houses were not safe anymore. Everyone knew that. Why? She had heard that young boy were robbing the supermarkets in town. and teenagers were extorting money and riding away on stolen motorcycles. In the plains, migrant workers prowled at night planning burglaries and murders. Now they were here. Houses were marked, and she was the one, she alone, who had to be on the lookout to defend their homes, worth, and property. So, every night, unable to sleep well for the anxiety, she cleared her throat loudly and shuddered with resentment as her husband slept peacefully. The thin line of lamplight under the door comforted her. She turned her head so that she could watch it properly. If a shadow fell across that beam, she would know someone was standing there, outside their door, waiting to hear if they were asleep. She glanced around quickly and was reassured to see the stout stick in the corner, ready for use. Better to be prepared, she thought bitterly as her eyelids began to drop. After the theft in the greenery building, it was evident to Assam that her fear was not unfounded. The road was bad news. I knew something would happen, she said to the villagers gathered by the road. But of course, no one listened. Now we have burglars among us, and who are we to blame? Everyone looked at each other. News had already reached Duan, and he was to come to the village by the afternoon to address the distressed people. In her father's house, Mayum pulled out her green velvet blouse and held it up. It was her one piece of fancy cloth that she kept folded under the mat so that it would not crease. I'll wear this, she thought. A brief meeting at the district town center had convinced her that Duan had not forgotten what had passed between them before he was elected, and work called him away to the capital. They had grown up together, seen each other walking to the field almost every day, and performed all the rites of the season like the young men and women of the villages. Even when Dwan left to study in the town, they were never apart because he would come back to the village every weekend. He would move around with his friends then, and she with hers, and they would exchange words and look them, kept them laughing and happy, although the long summers before he contested the elections and became famous, and the crowds pressed in on him and escorted him away. And now he was coming back. She had heard Issam's angry, mocking words and recognized the spite in them. She had felt a rush of anger towards Issam and others like her who were intent on harming and ridiculing Duan. She had said a prayer for him. This morning she had heard old Luda saying that they should press for an inquiry and catch the culprits. Everyone had cheered, but first someone must draft a letter to Duan, Luda had added, so that their misfortune would be on record. At this point, all eyes had turned to Human, the school teacher. He was the only one in the village who could read and write more than a few sentences. What shall I write? Write that all our jewels were stolen and that we want action. Whom shall I address it to? To Duan? Who else? No, no, send it to the master. Minister. No, it will get lost. Just write it. Duan can carry it to the minister. How do you know? Isam had shouted quite loudly. How do you know he will? See, he promised us water and nothing had been done. Where is the water? The laborers are drinking it all up. I mean, Duan is our own boy, but after all, he can't do everything. Huh? Another voice had said, and then someone else had disagreed. And for the first time in the village, voices had been raised in dissent. The elders and young men had begun to argue. Where is the electricity? He had promised us electricity. We'll get it. Yes, but the contract had gone to others. Huh? Who in the village is going to get anything of the contract? No one. But we will get the electricity. But why give the contract to others? Why, why? Why is this? Suddenly, the voice of Luda had silenced everyone. We are all involved. Listen, what is wrong with everyone? So let's see what part is there for tomorrow. Till then, bye bye. Take care. We'll meet soon.